Welcome to Watch, Review, Repeat. This is the podcast where two best friends discuss the latest in film and television and then do it all over again the following episode. My name is Colton Brown. With me, Mr. Andrew Meadows.
Greetings. Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Hello there. I'm doing well. I'm recovering. I must be quite honest right up front and speak about something that was a very, very upsetting experience for me. Nothing serious happened. I should probably just flag that so people aren't actually worried about me. But our listeners may recall that we did an episode on the Batman, episode 201. Came out. It was lengthy, but we had a nice, thorough conversation on the Batman. It was great.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, I got about an hour and 40-ish minutes into editing it, and the power, I lost power to my computer, and I don't know exactly what happened. I believe that I may have the way I do it is that when I edit, like, I save all the time. It's Control S, Control S, Control S all the time because I don't want to lose that shit.
Yeah.
So I save it all the time. I think when I lost power, I happened to be saving at the time. I think, I thought, all right, no big deal. There's a recovery file. Everything's going to be fine. Booted the computer back up, which takes like 15 minutes because my computer's slow as shit. Come to open the Adobe Audition file, and it's giving me an error when I open it. It's not opening it. It's not recognizing it. It's not recognizing the data and anything like that. Like, I can't even open the file and see the tracks within it to see where it saves past to. So I'm thinking, okay, all right, there's probably a way to recover this file. I do some quick Googling. I see someone that had the exact same issue, and basically the response to them was, sorry, dude, you're shit out of luck. Hope you have a backup. No. So my heart sinks a little bit, but I think, okay, I know that Audition auto backs up every so often. All right, I'm going to lose a few minutes of editing. Not the end of the world. Not a big deal. And I looked at my backups, and I had, I believe, 2 backup files in there, and they were from the first minute that I had started the editing file. So I opened it up, and all it has in the entire multi-track is the intro audio file. It doesn't have any of our audio files, let alone any of the fucking edits to any of our audio files. So I went to bed. And thought, well,
fuck.
Shit. I was gonna have this episode out, by the end of the week. My ass is not spending it takes a lot longer than 3+ hours. My ass is not editing a 3+ hour episode in one night. I don't even know if that's physically possible. So anyway, I did it again. I did all hour and 40 minutes plus the other probably hour and 40 minutes left after that. And now the episode is out for everyone to enjoy. So it may be long, it may be a daunting task to listen to that episode, enjoy it, but I highly encourage you to enjoy it because I worked my ass off for it. Editing's a task with all of these. It's always a process, but it's even more of a process when you have to do it 1.5 times. Not ideal, but hey, here we are. We made it. We're recording
kudos
another
to
one.
you, sir. Hats
hopefully,
off.
Hopefully it won't be as long. We're not covering a superhero film. We're covering Turning Red, a Pixar film, an animated film. It's an animated film, so maybe it's a tearjerker. I don't know. We'll talk about that later. But hopefully this should make for a more positive recording and editing experience. But anyway, I was going to use that as a fun fact, but I decided, you know what, I'm going to lead with it because it's not very fun.
It's not terribly fun.
It's not terribly fun. But before we do get into some proper fun facts for Turning Red, of which I have a small one, I don't know if you have anything. If not, then that just means that we won't spend 15 minutes on fun facts this time around. So be it.
Yeah, I've got nothing for Turning Red.
I wanted to say at the top, thank you again to Enrique Jaime for chiming in on our listeners' corner. So when we recorded, we just left an awkward gap when we didn't talk, and then later on, after I edited it twice, I put his comments back in, and I listened to them then. I don't know if you had an opportunity to listen to him, but he gave some thoughts on the Batman, which is actually going to be relevant to something we're talking about in the news section this week, so we'll hit on that there. But he also gave his favorite TV shows in response to our episode on favorite TV shows.
Oh,
so I wanted to just rattle off what he mentioned so you can hear them, because I expect you're not going to be going back and listening to the 3-hour plus monstrosity that we put out on the Batman, given that you yourself were part of the conversation. And let me just say, if you've heard it once, you don't need to hear it 3 times. So some honorable mentions from Enrique were Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Okay, there's a pick.
And he picked for honorable mentions all shows that we had not mentioned. So I'm sure there were some that would have qualified as honorable mentions for him, but we kind of hit on them in our episode 200. He also picked the animated series of Pokemon, which is a classic. Can't deny that.
Nice.
The FX show What We Do in the Shadows, based on the movie, which has had, I believe, a few seasons. Ted Lasso. And he shouted out The Good Place, thinking that I had not shouted it out, but small correction, I did. It was one of my honorable mentions. It was nearly in my top 5 until The West Wing just rooted its way in there. He also mentioned Spartacus over on Starz, which I never actually finished, but was very entertaining. He said one thing we didn't mention was Star Trek, which I think is true. I don't think we had any mentions of Star Trek on that episode. He particularly was shouting out The Next Generation. And then House of Cards as well. And then his quote-unquote real honorable mentions, ones that could have made the top 5 but didn't quite cut it, were the Spectacular Spider-Man, the animated series, which is great, in Atlanta over on FX as well.
Okay.
Which is also great, but is one that I've watched one season of, so it's hard for me to consider that.
We had a special category for those shows.
Exactly. But his actual top 5, again, just so you can hear it, in case maybe our listeners didn't make it quite that far in the Batman episode, well, you're hearing it now, right at the top. His top 5, in no particular order, were Game of Thrones. Yes, even Game of Thrones still cracked it. He said the early seasons were good enough to carry it. Daredevil, Community, Parks and Recreation, and last but not least, Dragon Ball Z.
No, dude, I forgot all about Dragon Ball Z.
I feel like that's at least an honorable mention for you.
Absolutely.
So there you have
it. Good picks.
So I just wanted to say thank you again. We didn't really have the opportunity, like I said, to respond on air to what he said because we kind of just plugged it in later. So now here's a little opportunity to shout it out. So Turning Red. I have 2 interrelated fun facts, and again, it's brief. It's nothing crazy. But my fun fact about Turning Red is that it is the first Pixar film to be solely directed by a woman.
Wow.
Can you believe that? A woman directing an animated film over at Pixar. I say solely. Brave was co-directed by a woman. That one was, I think, a bit of an interesting scenario where I believe she was the sole director at one point, and then she was replaced, I think, partway through production.
Women can't direct things on their own.
That's ridiculous. They certainly can't win Academy Awards for directing, can they? Or can they? So yeah, that's very exciting. Good for her. It's Domi Shi. We should probably say her name. Domi Shi is the director of Turning Red. It's actually also her feature film directorial debut, which is very, very exciting. She's worked a lot as a storyboard artist for past Pixar films, including Inside Out, Incredibles 2, Toy Story 4, and then something I think we probably talked about when we talked about the Turning Red trailer or trailers, whatever we got. She directed the short film Bao, about the little dumpling boy. If you remember that.
Oh my God, do I remember that?
Incredibles 2.
Oof.
So
Saddest thing I've ever seen. That was the worst thing I've ever seen.
That's her prior work. And in addition to being the only woman to direct a Pixar animated feature solely, the actual leadership team of Turning Red was actually just all women.
Really?
Just straight up. All female creative leadership team, which is unsurprisingly a first in Pixar history. That includes writers, producers, everything. So yeah, that's
pretty awesome.
It wasn't. It sounds like it wasn't intentionally structured to be like that. It just worked out that way,
And that's even more cool.
Yeah.
Like whenever you have executives that say, "Listen, the only people we want working on this is just women. Let's get all women." It's less genuine than like, "Hey, here's the most qualified people for the job," and it just so happens to be all women. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm much more in favor of that happening.
Yeah, I totally agree. So, very cool. So we'll talk about what those women made in Turning Red in just a little while. We've got just a little bit of news, and I just picked a handful of things that have come up. There's more news that we could have covered, but in the interest of time and all, sometimes we value our listeners' time. Other time, we just say, we're drunk and we're having fun. We'll do whatever the hell we goddamn please.
That's it.
It's up to you to hit the pause
hours.
button if you can't do it anymore. There's no shame in listening in chunks because, by God, I wouldn't want to listen to me talk for 3+ hours either. So we'll start with a forthcoming video game adaptation. Over at Amazon, over at Prime Video, we are going to be getting a series adaptation of God of War.
Oh my goodness.
The PlayStation franchise. So I actually am not sure if they've stated what, iteration of God of War they'll be going for, because, traditionally you were talking about Greek gods and whatnot. Yeah. Obviously the more recent series is like Norse mythology based. So I think there's kind of probably a pretty big question mark there of which angle you take with it.
Which pantheon, right?
Now, of course, you could eventually do both if it's successful and whatnot, but certainly you want to start somewhere. So it's going to be coming from the creators / executive producers of The Expanse, Mark Fergus, Hawk Ostby,
oh my goodness,
as well as the Wheel of Time's executive producer and showrunner, Rafe Judkins. And it'll be a Sony PlayStation co-production, blah, blah, blah. So what do you think about that? What do you think about God of War coming to your small screen? Well, yours is pretty big, so.
That's a pretty major get. I mean, that's pretty huge.
Yeah.
Who's playing Kratos? I mean, that's the question.
Yeah, so that's going to be, that's also a big question mark, right? Yeah.
And does he have
Do you just get Christopher Judge?
Yes.
You just get him to do it in live action? He doesn't look exactly like Kratos, but he's got the voice.
He does have the voice. And that's just the thing, too. Like, I mean, whoever you pick.
You will not see the end of this day.
Boy.
Yeah, it's just, I feel like, the later one, the latest one, is very much just boy.
You know who you get? I know who you get. You get freaking what's his face. Fuck. You get he was the android in the beginning of 2049. Big guy.
Dave Bautista.
Yes, get Dave Bautista. That's fucking Kratos.
He can do it.
Oh, that'd be great.
He's got the physicality, no doubt about that. But I think he could also do the voice. I think
he's got the voice. He's got the acting chops.
Yeah, I think he could do it.
That'd be awesome. Anybody, but you get Peacemaker.
Oh God, I could not take Cena seriously in this fucking role. Because first of all, Kratos is going to be half naked most of the time. He's going to be shirtless, and John Cena just looks ridiculous shirtless. Just the proportions, like him just walking around in this world is going to make you laugh. We can't have that. We need to have someone who's convincingly, ripped, but not comical.
Comically, yeah,
in their proportions. So yeah, I'm on board with Bautista. I could work with that. Make it bloody. Don't shy away from
no, lean into it.
Everything that is associated with God of War. You know what I mean? Like, go for it. And Amazon obviously is not one to shy away from that.
Yeah.
See the boys. For an example of the type of gore and stuff that you could anticipate happening in a God of War. Although a little, maybe probably even more serious, right? Not as silly as something like the boys can be sometimes. So cool.
Right.
I'm down for it.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on then to some directorial news. Deadpool 3. Deadpool 3 is coming. It's kind of it's probably perhaps the only film to survive the Disney Fox merger, because why would they make other films in the X-Men universe without just rebooting it? But Deadpool was successful, right? Deadpool 1, Deadpool 2, pretty solid. So Deadpool 3 is coming, and the director that is going to be taking the reins is Shawn Levy, who has worked with Ryan Reynolds quite recently on 2 films, Free Guy, and even more recently, The Adam Project, which is on Netflix now. I don't think either of us have watched it yet, or maybe you have.
No, I have not seen it yet. No,
but by all counts, seems to be pretty solidly reviewed. Free Guy was good fun as well. So clearly, there's some synergy there. I have to imagine that Mr. Reynolds had some sway here, and vouched for his guy to come on board. The film's being written by the writers of the first film, Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick, and I think they're working on a draft that had been previously done by a few other people. So yeah, I mean, Deadpool 3 is coming. Shawn Levy. What do you think about that? Any thoughts on that?
Okay.
Sure. Why not?
Yeah. I'll watch it for sure.
Yeah. Deadpool in the MCU. I mean, come on. That's exciting.
That is cool.
It remains to be seen how they really try to tackle that. But we've got multiversal shenanigans happening all over the place. So it feels like a pretty easy end to just have him universe hop, or have others universe hop into his world if you want to do it that way too. So yeah. We will probably see this film in probably a couple of years. Probably a couple of years away, I would guess. I don't think there's any official date or anything like that, but Marvel's got so many dates just set up on the calendar for the next few years. I'm sure it'll be one of those. So maybe 2024 or so. So we'll see. We'll stay tuned on the Deadpool front. All right, so we have a couple of trailers to talk about. The first of which is a Netflix film as well, which is debuting on April 1st, on April Fool's Day. So it'll be up by the time this episode is up, but I wanted to gauge your reaction to it. It's a Judd Apatow film called The Bubble. So what are you thinking about this one?
I like the song in the trailer. I don't know what song it was, but it seemed like it was fucking fire.
It's fucking cool. It's Edamame.
Edamame.
by Baby No Money, which you showed to me once upon a time, I think when we were down there for Sarah's 30th birthday party, down when we went partying down in Florida once upon a time. I think maybe you had a few drinks. Let's be honest, you had a few drinks that evening, but I think you're the one that put it up, and and Anna and I didn't know what it was, but you showed it to us, and I was just like, this is a fucking banger. You know what I mean? So
no wonder I like it then.
Exactly. You know what you like. So yes, Baby, I agree.
Edamame. Let me
cue it up.
Let me I'll add that on my thing. There it is. Okay, got it.
All right, there you go. You got it. So what do you think about The Bubble?
It could either be wildly entertaining or
real bad.
Like it's one or the other. It's not
right. It's going to be dumb. It's going to be a bit silly. Can you find the right balance and make that entertaining, or is it just going to be unfunny the whole time? Like, Judd Apatow's usually pretty good at this sort of thing, and this one doesn't really seem Judd Apatow-esque in terms of what it is. And obviously, I still think there's a certain element of, do we need pandemic films yet? You know what I mean?
Right.
This one's a little better than the Michael Bay one, or whatever the fuck that one was.
Corona's 24 or whatever.
Yeah. Did that even come out? I mean, what the hell?
Yeah, I think it did. And it's what, Songbird?
Oh God, I forgot it. Yeah, it did come out. You're right. Good Lord.
Yeah, it was real bad.
That one was like,
I never watched it.
My dude's like we still can't go
That's
outside.
That's in the height of the fucking pandemic, in the height of it.
Right. Yeah, it was far too soon. This one, it's approaching it with a bit of humor. And things are in a little better place in the world. Well, they're definitely in a better place than they were when fucking Songbird came out. You know what I mean? So maybe the timing's okay. Maybe it is. I don't think I'm going to be rushing to put this on at midnight when it drops on April 1st or anything like that. But yes, it could be dumb, fun, We'll see. It's a good cast. It's a great cast. So I feel like that helps its cause, but maybe it might just be, for me, a don't look up situation of, oh, it's a famous director and he's got a bunch of his famous friends hanging out, but they forgot to actually make a good movie. Oops. So we'll see.
I hope it's good. Hopefully. I will say that. Oh, it's good.
We don't hope things are bad. We generally don't hope things are bad.
Especially if we have to watch them.
Unless it's Morbius, which also comes out on April 1st. So
I can tell you which one I'd prefer to watch.
Well, I mean, we're going to have a serious conversation about whether we actually choose to cover Morbius. God. We won't have it now. We can't put ourselves through that stress.
Can't do that now.
The reviews are dropping really soon. Actually, they might even be live now. Live look in at Rotten Tomatoes. See what the tomato meter shows for Morbius. Hoo, buddy. Oh, predictions in.
Prediction
it's not.
Drummel is
okay.
46.
I can't see how many reviews have been tallied. All I can see is the percentage right now, and I can say that you've overshot it by about 31%.
No, by 30.
It's from what I can see. Again, this could be, I don't know, whatever math adds up to 15%, but it could be 20 reviews, it could be 30 reviews, it could be 100. I don't know. I'm guessing it's probably on the smaller, on the smaller side of things. But early reviews, if they're any indication, are not terribly pleasant. So, are we going to Inhumans ourselves? That's a question that we'll have to think about over the next little while. We'll revisit that, because it's not going to be our next episode. We can say that right now. But anyway, the bubble's April 1st. Morbius is April 1st. It's also April Fool's Day. It's all appropriate, is it not? So anyway, let's move on and talk about another Marvel project, one that I hope that we're looking forward to a lot more than Morbius. At least I am. It's the next after Moon Knight Disney Plus show from Marvel Studios. It's Miss Marvel, about Kamala Khan, a teenager who gets some powers, and has to find out what life is like as a teenager with superpowers. What'd you think about the trailer?
Looks great. Looks like it could be like a live action Into the Spider-Verse, or more like a Scott Pilgrim kind of stylizing.
Yeah, especially the first half of the trailer with kind of like the illustrations kind of on screens. Mitchell's versus the Machines-esque as well. It
looks like they're
kind of in that vein.
Looks like they're taking and I don't claim to be an expert on Miss Marvel and her powers and stuff, but I've always seen her with like stretchy fists and stuff. It looks like they're taking more of a Ten Rings kind of vibe, like it's some sort of thing on the wrist that gives her the powers.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the comics, and this is something that's been, I think, unpopular overall, is the decision to change her powers. In the comics, she's got weird, stretchy, and beginning powers, where she can get her hand all big and grossly stretchy and rubbery and punch people with it real big. Here, it does seem to be originating from like bracelets or something like that she's using, but it also seems to be like energy based, like the energy sourced, I guess, which is closer to a Captain Marvel, which I'm guessing is probably one of the reasons they did it. But it's somewhat Green Lantern-esque, I guess, to jump universes as well. I think there are a number of reasons that they could have chosen to do it this way. Maybe it's just to make her more similar to Captain Marvel, who is kind of her idol, and we see elements of that in this trailer. It could be a budget thing. It could be, we can't make this hand look good if it's big and stretchy, but if we cover it in a bunch of purple energy, it looks fine, or it could be and people have speculated this, or it could be we're doing Fantastic Four in a couple of years, and we don't want two people with stretchy powers. I don't know. Whatever the reason is, maybe there's a story-related reason. It does seem like it is like a bit of her like leaping through the air, where she's got like stretchy limbs, it almost looks like. So it seems like she still kind of has the same style of power, just with like I said, the layer of kind of the purple energy on top of it. Which, I don't know. I'm not a purist of Miss Marvel. I've heard that the run of her character. She's a pretty recent character, I think. Basically, started within the past decade, maybe a little bit more. I'm not sure exactly what the start date was, but very recent in the scheme of Marvel Comics. She's become very popular. People are huge fans of her character. Are not pleased that they're already changing things with the adaptation, but for someone like me, it's more about, are they getting the spirit of the character right? Are they, striking the right tone? Is it going to be an interesting and fun show to watch? And it's being made. That's obviously a pretty big deal. Like, you don't want things that you like to be made in a shitty fashion, but Marvel Studios is pretty capable hands. I think a change in powers could be disappointing, but to me, it's not the end all be all for, like, is this going to be a successful adaptation or not? You know what I mean? So I think there's definitely some other aspects to consider, and I like what I see. And I like Iman Vellani. She's a newcomer. She's playing Kamala. She's playing Miss Marvel, and she seems very charming. Seems like a relatable teenager going through teenage things, which is also something that Turning Red hits on, to tee that up as well. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It is debuting on June 8th, and I want to say it's probably another 6-episoder, but I could be incorrect on that front. I will fact check and see if we have information on that front. But 6 episodes. 6 episodes.
Nice.
It's coming in June. So any other thoughts on that trailer that we got for Miss Marvel?
No, I am.
You're in?
I'm definitely excited about it.
Cool. All right, so we have one last topic. It's not really a trailer. It's the results of the people that have been cracking the code on elretaalada.com. There's a viral marketing campaign that's been going down since the release of the Batman, in which you could solve some riddles by the Riddler, and you'd get rewarded. At one point, I think there was like pictures of like the Riddler's apartment and stuff like that. But people have been rewarded with a deleted scene from the Batman, a 5-minute long deleted scene, and I suppose it's fair
Is that
to
where
say,
that come from? It come from the website?
Yeah. This was kind of a reward for people participating in that, and then obviously once one person does it, then it's on the internet. But spoilers for the Batman, mild spoilers for the Batman, about a certain character appearance which makes an appearance in the later stages of the film. Not hugely plot consequential, but a character that was supposed to apparently have a bigger role in the film as it was once envisioned. But this particular deleted scene didn't quite make the final cut, and it's a deleted scene featuring Barry Keoghan's appearance as unseen Arkham prisoner, a.k.a. it's the motherfucking Joker. And interestingly enough, we talked about this maybe a little bit, towards the tail end of our Batman conversation. We were both pretty toasty. You may not recall the finer details of it. And actually, this was a big thing that Enrique talked about when he sent in his clip, giving his thoughts on the Batman. He was not a huge fan of the Joker's appearance and the small interaction with the Riddler and the film proper. And I wasn't a huge fan of it either. But
I like it. Did I have any gripes?
I don't think you were a huge fan, but I don't think you had any I don't think you had any major comments. I don't think you had any major comments to throw out. So we get 5 minutes with this character here. And I think that it improves my opinion of the take on the character. But I am fine with this scene being deleted is kind of my probably overall takeaway. So what'd you think about it? I mean, let's hear some fresh takes on what
first takes on Joker here is I thought he looked fine.
Yeah, the look is a big thing. He's pretty scarred, even more than Heath Ledger's.
Yeah.
He's missing half his fucking head of hair.
It looks like he's had a hard time.
Bloody fingernails.
Yep. I do like I liked what he was laughing at the end of the little thing, right? I think it was a really cool take on, I don't know, it just seems like something the Joker would be laughing at. I don't know how it organically builds into the story that we got. So, it belongs as a deleted scene, I feel like.
Right.
Unless you have a whole lot.
Where does this even fit? Like, it doesn't feel like there's a particular moment in the film. It's just like, he should be going to Arkham here, Yeah.
So, I mean, it's definitely out of left field. But, I don't know. I don't have any problems with it. I thought it was pretty well done. It belongs as a deleted scene because it definitely does not organically fit anywhere unless you have a lot more material that you're not showing us.
And also, I mean, this is another 5 minutes in an already pretty long film. Not necessarily an overly long film, but it's already pretty fucking long. You know what I mean? So you can understand why something like this could be lost for pacing. But I agree. I like the look. From what we can tell, it's obviously never really shown extremely clearly in a single frame, but we certainly get the gist of it. I like Barry Keoghan. I think he's got a weird face, so that's fine if you're the Joker. It's fine to have a weird face. He's a good actor. That helps. And I like this idea of the Batman and the Joker, having this kind of conversation. Yeah, a Hannibal Lecter kind of thing. This is something that Enrique also talked about. It was just something along these lines could be interesting where, instead of having the Joker be a proper villain in a sequel, you have him someone who's just kind of in Arkham, and the extent of his involvement is basically limited interactions in that setting, which I think could be. I think that's kind of an interesting approach because I am kind
until
of
he breaks out
mindset. Until inevitably he breaks out,
and then it's a Hannibal because you make him a Hannibal character,
right?
And that's cool.
I guess I agree in the sense that I don't need him to break out in the Batman 2, right? You know what I mean?
Right.
I think there are other villains that could be explored. We'll see what happens with the Penguin, obviously, but he mentioned Mr. Freeze. Matt Reeves has also mentioned doing a take on Mr. Freeze,
really?
which could be interesting. I mean, he took a character that was hugely botched in Batman Forever with the Riddler and did a pretty sinister interpretation of that. We got a Two-Face redemption in The Dark Knight already. So hey, tackle some villains that have been absolutely fucked in live action. Give me a Mr. Freeze. Give me a Poison Ivy.
Mr. Freeze is so tough. Poison Ivy, I think. Poison Ivy, just because of the atmosphere that they've already kind of established, having a guy walking around like in a cryo suit would be, it'd be pretty.
It would be tough, but you can make it technological, in terms of how it works, and. Don't cast Arnold, you know what I mean? Like, no disrespect to Arnold. He's Arnold, you know what I mean? He's awesome, but there's a way to do it. There's a way to do it. I mean,
there's a way to probably make it very cool too.
I think if you have the right
cool.
take on it, very cool. Oh, yes. So yeah, I think that would be very.
I want to
cool
see
indeed.
Bane. He already shot himself up with Venom.
Bane's a natural fit. I do think that it's been done too recently. That's a character I don't think you can go right to in a sequel either. You know what I mean?
You just make him like a throwaway. Like Penguin's got a goon and he's fucking Bane. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
that could work.
He's just fucking pissed.
He's not the big bad. He's just a mercenary or something for the first act. That could work. I can live with that. All right. Anyway, WB, taking notes. Writing a film for you, so...
We're getting it from Marvel. We need to get some kickback from WB.
I think that probably covers it, right?
Oh yeah.
There's some interesting directions that a Batman sequel could definitely take. I look forward to seeing what Matt Reeves and company concoct, and if it indeed is just the Jokering about. I'll probably do a pretty good version.
How
of
many
that
does he want to do? Has he talked about how many he wants to do?
I don't think so. But I feel like Pattinson has said he's up for like a trilogy. So
with the success, I'm sure everybody's on board
I'm
to come
sure
back.
it's inevitable that the Batman sequel will be announced at some point, and we'll be getting more of it. I'd be very shocked if we don't get more. Hey, it works just fine on its own. But you bet your bottom dollar I would be there day zero for a sequel.
Yeah, right,
so,
right.
All right, I guess we got a movie to talk about or something.
Or something.
We're something. We're here to talk about Turning Red. as we discussed not too long ago. We teed it up with a fun fact and everything. Now, for Andrew and I, that feels like an eternity ago, and the reason for that, another fun fact, a mid-episode fun fact, if you will, is that our keen-eared listeners may have noticed we haven't said a goddamn thing about that 3-hour episode that we just dropped on the Academy Awards, on the 94th Academy Awards, and the reason for that is at the time we didn't know that episode was going to be happening. We didn't know it was going to be a separate episode. We planned on just doing the Academy Awards within the Turning Red episode, and we looked like real dummies about the 3.5 hour mark of that after the news and everything, and we're like, we can't.
It was just loaded. It was a loaded conversation.
Yeah, we were just like, we cannot do this in one episode. So anyway, we talked about the news, we talked about a lot of other things, and then we talked about the Academy Awards, and hopefully everyone did indeed enjoy our extensive coverage of that with Anna Mattis helping us out as our red carpet correspondent. But yes, we're now finally here for us, not so much for the listeners, finally for us to hear, we're here to talk about Turning Red. So we're going to get into it. And let me set it up. It is exclusively available to stream on Disney Plus. Just yet another Pixar film that has skipped right past theaters, but I'm sure Andrew's just okay with sitting and watching it on his couch.
It was very nice.
Yeah, it was pretty convenient, not going to lie. Written by Julia Cho and Domi Shi, also directed by Domi Shi, and we would have talked about her, and you would have heard about her, you being a listener, would have heard about her very recently as part of our fun fact. Now, I actually want to add, since it's been a few days since we actually recorded the beginning bit of this episode, I wanted to add a little addendum right here, actually. This came out the day that we're recording, and Pixar has promoted some of the women in charge of Turning Red to some leadership roles within Pixar. So one name, I don't know if we actually said her mentioned her by name. Lindsay Collins is the producer of this film. She's been named Senior Vice President of Development. She's going to head the development group at Pixar for features and streaming, which is exciting.
Wow.
And then Domi Shi, Turning Red's director, Domi Shi, has been promoted to the Vice President of Creative.
Holy shit.
She's going to be guiding studios' filmmakers on their own productions as part of the quote-unquote famed Pixar Brain Trust. So anyway, two women who obviously had very significant roles in making Turning Red and have been rewarded for it. So maybe there's a reason for that. I don't know. Maybe we'll talk about it. We'll see if if Turning Red is the kind of film that makes you think, you know what, these women should have more responsibilities. They should be getting paid a little bit more. They should be doing more of this. This is great. I don't know. We'll talk about it. Turning Red stars Rosalie Chang, Sandra Oh, Ava Morse, Hyeon Park, Maitreyi Ramakrishnan, Orion Lee, Wai Ching Ho, Tristan Alaric Chen, and James Hong. It's about Mei-Len Mei Lee, a 13-year-old Chinese-Canadian student living in Toronto in 2002, who transforms into a giant red panda when she experiences any strong emotion. So, it's been a little while since we watched Turning Red, even longer since we first sat down to record our coverage of Turning Red, as it turned out. But hopefully you've still got a few things to say about it. So what did you think about Turning Red?
So I thought Turning Red was. I thought it was. How do we start?
So you were outraged, I'm sure, about the mentions of puberty and the fact that teenage girls were in it and they had crushes on boys.
Absolutely,
and all of that. That's where you stand, I'm sure.
Absolutely, I'm one of those.
Okay. All right. Perfect.
No,
okay.
It's that part was definitely the best part of it. I like how they. I don't know. It's a well told story. And maybe I'm just not as keen on what kids are into these days. But it feels like a movie that should have been made like 10, 15 years ago. I don't think kids burn CDs anymore.
Well, I mean, it's set in 2002, so that kind of
okay. It was.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So it's a period piece of sorts, in that respect. Maybe that makes it feel a little bit different because it definitely feels like something.
Yeah, it's like
something that's set 20 years ago. Like what?
Who are you making this cartoon for? Right? Like it should be for a little kid. Like it predominantly should be for little kids, and then innuendos for adults. Is usually how it goes. But if we're talking about burning CDs and going to see, like the Backstreet Boys, I don't think that was supposed to be a K-pop band. I don't think so because of the way that those boys were. It very much felt like they were
definitely Backstreet Boys, NSYNC kind of stand-ins. Yeah.
So I mean, kids are. I mean, if you're going to be into a boy band, it's probably going to be some sort of K-pop thing now. You know what I mean? It's not going to be a boy band. So it's very much a movie that is meant for. It's like. The content seems for an adult, or not the content, but like the setting, the things that the person's into. An adult's going to identify with all that, where a kid's going to be left in the dark. Like, what the hell is a CD? What the hell is burning a CD? What is a boy band? You know what I mean? All that stuff is going to be left in the dust. So at the end of the day, who's this movie for? Is it for the kids? Is it for the adults to say, hey, there's a movie out and I want to show you this movie? And it just happens to be, this story of like entering womanhood, that part, because it's interesting. Normally those kid movies and stuff aren't made that way. Usually they're made for...
Yeah, it's yeah.
Right? Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah, I mean, it is kind of interesting. I mean, the fact that, that it's set, I think, kind of deliberately in something that's going to feel more like our childhood, for instance.
Right.
Not that we were necessarily teenage girls in 2002, but we were kids.
I had an NSYNC CD
20 years ago.
I had a Backstreet Boys
right, we
CD.
owned NSYNC CDs.
We burnt
I think I had
CDs.
at least one Backstreet. We definitely burnt the fuck out of some CDs, that's for sure. So, I think there's aspects of that will feel more relatable for someone like us. But at the same time, I mean, I get that, but also, I mean, and there was also yet another controversy that was stirred up where there was like a review who was just like, this isn't going to appeal to anyone that doesn't live in Toronto and isn't like a Canadian or, a Chinese Canadian person. It's just like, I mean, there's very specific cultural touchstones in this. I'm not going to disagree with something like that being said, but
I would think
hits on a lot of universal themes, I think, within a coat of paint that is, I think, pretty fucking unique in its own right. You know what I mean?
It's definitely unique.
I mean, I don't know what it's like growing up in Toronto. I don't know what it's like growing up in Canada. I know what it's like growing up in Florida in the United States.
I don't know what it's like to grow up as a woman.
I don't know that part either. Correct. So that's obviously, a little bit outside of my sphere of knowledge, but I still found it relatable in terms of certain aspects of, family dynamics and friendships, and growing up, and, all kids go through puberty too, just different. It's different, for girls than it is for boys, and I think this film kind of hits on that in a pretty
that's okay. Tell it in an animated
pretty
form.
direct
That's
manner.
Awesome. Right?
Yeah. I think it kind of, it breaks barriers in the sense that I think in a way it's talking about a lot of things that usually don't really come up in this sort of thing, which I think is maybe kind of what you're getting at. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
All I was getting at was usually like take any kid.
Usually it's kids first and then adults second.
Yes,
that kind of
exactly.
Yeah.
So and even the puberty stuff. Is a kid going to identify with the puberty stuff, or is it just going to be a big fluffy panda?
Well, I think it depends on the age. If it's a 5-year-old or an 8-year-old, it's probably the big fluffy panda that's the big dominant appeal. It's so cute,
they're not at
fluffy,
puberty
and I
right? Is a teenager
is
the teenager going to identify with the puberty stuff?
They might, or. I mean, maybe it's still too embarrassing for them because kids are kids, and when we have this stigma around these sorts of things, that they're going to be like, "Ooh, I don't want to watch this with my parents." You know what I mean?
Or is this an adult movie told in the form of a kids movie?
You're right, and
that's okay if it is.
To be said, right. An important thing to be said is that something is animated doesn't mean that it's a
kids movie. No,
now,
absolutely.
If something is a Pixar film, I mean, yeah, it's definitely going to be geared towards children as well. Like that's definitely part of their target audience.
And you got the fluffy panda dancing and doing fluffy panda things, right?
Yeah. I think it's definitely got some aspects of it that I think are probably, at broad strokes intended to be a little bit more kid friendly, right? The big fluffy panda aspect of it, and and the cuteness and stuff like that. Whereas I think it's still hitting on themes that, depending on how young you are, it'll fly right over your head, or you might be in the right age bracket and you're like, ooh, or maybe you find it relatable. I don't know. Maybe you do, maybe you don't.
The interesting thing is if you're at the age where it completely flies over your head, like like conventionally, I mean, in these animated movies, you'll have like a joke that happens to be an adult humor thing that you pick up on. Or maybe just a short story arc, you know what I mean, where you can correlate things or something like that. But this is a whole story that is largely about puberty and this and that. And if you're not there, or if you can't, if either you can't relate or you can't identify how it's trying to tell that story, is there enough here for you? I think there is. I think there is enough here for you.
I think so. It's short enough. It's snappy enough. I think that the tone and feel of it is fun. I think that's going to be enough for the kid, people that aren't as engaged with the deeper aspects of it. And so here's kind of an interesting thing that I'm thinking about, as we're having this conversation, is looking at like what Pixar has done super recently. Like Luca was the one prior to this, and I think that also touches on teenage friendship and, but they're fucking mer people or whatever, or they're fish people. And so there's still kind of that fantasy creative aspect to it that I think keeps it a little bit more engaging than just like kids doing kid shit. You know what I mean? To have the younger audiences still kind of enthralled with it. But I think before that, Soule, to me, is a film that I look at and think,
that's adults
are
first.
kids going to enjoy this film? And it's like jazz, and it's
like maybe there's like a new direction,
death and like the afterlife and like and shit like that. And it's just like this feels like really fucking adult in many ways. But my nephew Graham apparently loved Soule. So I think it goes to show that you can be very young and still enjoy aspects of a film, even if you're not appreciating probably everything that the story is striving for.
Right.
And this is not necessarily...
This isn't Soule.
This isn't Soule, but even something like Inside Out was, that was dealing with like a young girl as well, and like her feelings and her emotions, and quite literally tackling it in a literal kind of capacity. And I think that this isn't quite that, but it's kind of got a similar thread of giving a physical manifestation to something that you feel internally, and making it a little bit more exciting than just, having talking to your parents or talking to your friends or having a therapy session. Like it's taking all of these things and giving it some entertainment value, to be mined out of it. For I think it would seem to me, all audiences who are going to pull different things out of it.
That's right.
Now, you and I would imagine, are even going to pull different things out of it than women, the same age as us, because we had different experiences.
Yeah, that's true, for sure.
Very different experiences, I would have to imagine. So I think that that's going to be something that you're going to get something different out of it. But I think, and this is maybe just putting the cap on kind of what you were getting at, even if it works in a different way, I think the bottom line is it still works.
Yeah, sure.
And that's okay. That's good.
It's awesome, actually. It's totally awesome, because what happens is a film that normally wouldn't have been made has been made, right? You don't get the conventional story. This is something totally different. And that's largely, I would say that it's awesome. Like I said, I mean, it's very cool. It resonated with me in the way animated films do. That is, AKA...
Were any tears shed?
AKA, I cried. It resonated with me.
I think I said something about, like, it might be a tearjerker. I don't know. I had to wait a few days to find out, but lo and behold, here we are.
And the story is it's a coming of age story.
It's a coming of age. That's yeah, totally.
And it tells that story in different ways. It's definitely from a different perspective that at least I can say I've never seen before in the animated medium. It does it in a fun, cute way. The part that I grapple the most with is it does it in such a way to where the story, the content of the story seems like more mature.
Okay.
And the presentation seems a lot more kiddish. And so what happens is I kind of get this whiplashy feeling in certain scenes. Where this is the part that's oriented for the kids, and this is the part that's oriented for the more mature audience, and it doesn't seem as nuanced as other animated films. That's probably the best way for me to say that. I think that's the best way for me to convey it, I think. I think it's well written. It's definitely well animated. Like, it's a beautiful movie. I got really interested in the more mature aspects of this movie and the way it was like navigating it. And then it almost felt like I know exactly why I'm having an issue with this movie. And it's a slight issue. I'm not going to say it's a big issue. I like anime, right?
Yeah.
What's my least favorite part about anime? Do you know?
The expressiveness, I think.
Yeah,
right. Something along those lines, like the bump on the head, or
yes.
And anime eyes. I don't know if that falls in there as well. But.
Exactly.
This is a film that does it a lot.
Exactly, and I think that's my problem. And now it's in a completely different medium, right? It's not in like a hand-drawn anime thing. It's a computer. Right. It's a beautiful computer animated thing. But in its own element, it's doing exactly what anime does, which to a lot of people it's probably awesome. But I think that I think I just found it, and talking about, and that's why the podcast is so great, because you sit here and you talk about these things and then you realize what it is. I think that this is an anime Pixar animated movie.
It stylistically is very unlike anything Pixar has ever done. As far as I can tell. I mean, I think a lot of them had... Even
literally. Or not literally, but even the content on the page.
Yeah. Yes. Both the animation and the story.
Right.
No, totally. I agree. It's not Cars. It's not A Bug's Life. It's not Toy Story. It's very, very different. And again, maybe a lot of that can be traced to the involvement of women as the creative forces behind it. I think that that's probably pretty apparent, at least in terms of the story.
Yeah, totally.
But maybe even the animation itself is a reflection of these women in terms of the kind of things that they've enjoyed throughout their lives, and the kind of style that they wanted to bring to this type of film. You know, like it feels, it does have a very anime aspect to it. I totally agree with that. I enjoyed the hell out of that aspect of it.
See?
And I would say that I think within a 2D actual like Japanese anime type thing, that can get pretty fucking annoying.
It's not like that here.
It's not like that, but it does have aspects of it, and I can understand the comparison is what I'm saying.
And it's more so,
but it didn't bother me here.
It's more so, it's more than just the animation of the big cry eyes and the big nod on the head. It's also written on the page, and like I don't know. It's a stylistic choice that they chose to have. And I am reflective enough to know that it's
personal taste, maybe.
Exactly. It's not to the detriment of the movie. It's just a personal preference, right? And like you said, you love the style of it, and I largely like the style of it. But then there's differences in there, right? It's like I don't know. It's like anime, but yeah, I don't know. That's my opinion on Turning Red.
Turning Red.
It's a
right.
multifaceted film that is told through a different lens. I appreciate it being told. I think it was told well. I think it's well written. I think it's a beautifully animated show. It resonated with me emotionally, but I did not, not all aspects resonated with me. That's what I'll say.
Okay.
When it hit hard. That's what I'll say. When it hit me hard, but it didn't consistently hit. That's what I'll say for me.
Okay. So for my money, I enjoyed the hell out of Turning Red. I thought it was a breath of fresh air in some ways. I think particularly in terms of the storytelling of, not really being a story that we've ever been exposed to in this sort of medium, or most mediums in general. You know what I mean? I mean, that I've been exposed to, I guess I'll say.
No, it's definitely a unique story, especially told on the platform that it's been told on.
Totally, yeah. So the animation, I think, just at the top is just I just love the visual style of it. I know it's got this. I don't even know how to describe it. I mean, some aspects of it reminded me a little bit of like the Mitchells versus the Machines, but it's not. It's somewhere between that and like a more traditional 3D animation that you'd get from Pixar. But it's very stylized, and maybe almost Ghibli-esque in certain ways, and anime is probably just a fair way to describe, obviously, certain aspects of it, kind of the over-the-top nature of some of it, at least. But I loved it. Something about it was just very, very visually appealing to me, and I enjoyed that. The music was great. Four Town. I'm a Four Townie now. They put out some bangers in this, and I wanted to, because they got people to actually come in and do the Four Town songs. It's who's on it? Let's find out. Well, it's okay. So all of them might have actually been written by them, but at least the main one, "Nobody Like You," is written by Billie Eilish and Phineas, her brother.
No way.
Which is pretty awesome, and it was recorded by Jordan Fisher, Josh Levi, and I think Phineas also is one of the singers in it as well, and then Topher Ngo. So they put together a real fictional boy band with some singers, and it's a great result as the final product. But more than that, Ludwig Göransson does the fucking score on this, and it goes without saying, Ludwig is probably like one of the most talented composers like working in the industry today.
That's right.
But I think what really blows me away every time I listen to some sort of film is sometimes you can tell that it's him, but then there's times you're just like, oh shit, he did this too. And this is one of those films for me where I'm like, oh shit, he did this too. Because I think like Black Panther has like its very, very unique sort of sound, and then Tenet had like a very, very different sound than Black Panther did.
And he composed Redbone.
Yeah.
Childish Gambino?
Yeah.
Yeah, he put that shit out there. I wouldn't know that if I didn't have the vinyl. #.
Yeah, you're right. He was a producer on that. Yeah.
He's fucking talented dude, man.
Yeah.
He's nuts.
And so this one has like very obvious like
signatures, like you can tell.
Yeah, but I mean, it has a lot of like Oriental sounds that are incorporated into it, in the same way that like Black Panther incorporated a lot of African sounds into like creating the soundscapes of it. It makes it feel like it just has such a different feel than a lot of his other stuff does, and like there are like really talented composers who, when they try, can put out Dune, aka Hans Zimmer.
Right.
But to me, Hans Zimmer's stuff, for the most part, all sounds very similar. Dune was like him experimenting and doing some weird shit, and like, hey, he won a fucking Oscar for that, and we talked about that for 3 hours. So go listen to that if you need us to cover that. But But Ludwig,
it's well deserving.
Ludwig is just so versatile and how he approaches these things. I think it's just really impressive. Anyway, I really enjoyed the score, and this actually is just like a side note. Obviously, there's the songs that are fun, but the score itself is very
the score
well
is
done
great.
as well.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately, I really liked the story. I liked how it was just like kids just doing kid shit. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I found it relatable to just, they really like this band, but they're kids, so they can't fucking make any money, and so they just kind of turn this big deal of like, oh shit, she can turn into a panda into a money making scheme, so they can go see their favorite band or boy band at concert. Like that's kind of the story in a nutshell, right? And to me, that just made it all feel very relatable. And then you have layers on top of that of legacy and mother-daughter relationship, and then and you have that in different forms. You have May and her mom, and then you have May's mom and her mom. You've got just a lot going on.
Shit
there
got real quick.
Yeah, totally, it did. And just unraveling that, I think the film does a really good job of examining that sort of relationship and and barriers between children and their parents, and how to approach that. And I think that like, even though I don't have the same sort of family dynamics, and obviously in the way that like someone like May does in this movie, I can understand how that could be difficult, and challenging for a character to navigate. And then, she has these circle of friends who are fun. Each of them has their own kind of very distinct personality. And they're really fun just bouncing off each other. And that's a little bit more relatable for me, is, every person in the friend group has a bit of a different personality that they bring to it. That's fun for me. Abby was my personal favorite. She was the one dressed in purple, and she's like the little fucking gremlin one that's short and just always over the top. It's probably the most anime in terms of the expressiveness. But she was fucking hilarious every time she said something. She's just yelling the whole time.
Yes. I need to look at their pictures.
Yeah. They're all very fun. They all brought something to the table. I think May's obviously the main one. Miriam is she's the white girl in the group, with I think braces, and she's wearing like the plaid shirt. And then Priya is the quiet girl, and then Abby's just a little fucking gremlin. Just a little fucking gremlin, little spitfire, just bouncing around, just always, straight up like bouncing, like always, like just can't sit still. Just very funny. But I just loved that they felt like a very authentic friend group with like like everyone kind of having their own role and stuff. It was cute. It was good fun for me. So, yeah, I think.
The panda was so cool.
Well, the panda. We haven't even talked about the fucking panda.
Spoilers?
It's not a spoiler. We know there's a fucking panda, and it's on the poster. It'll be in the episode art that there's a fucking panda.
Just
in this.
the representation of what it is to be a woman, right? Like, you're powerful, and you're this and you're that, and you can do anything you want to do, and it was just like, I mean, I'm not a woman or anything like that, but a movie like this, when you're young and you're going through this stuff, I mean, you would think it would feel empowering. Like, it felt empowering to see her turn into a panda. And when her mom turned into a panda, she turned into fucking Godzilla panda, or maybe that's spoiler.
Yeah, whatever.
But, and all these women have the ability to turn into pandas, and they do they have their own powers and this and that, and they're unique in their own way. But they I don't know. And like the fact that they try to hide it away,
Mm-hmm.
we try to hide the fact that we don't necessarily. There's a lot of nuance in this fucking story that makes it very emotional. Like, it's a very powerful story. And it's we would never get it, right? We never get an authentic, like, female story like this.
No,
especially
I don't think so.
All the stuff that resonates with me with every other animated movie. This one animated in such a different way because it's from a totally different perspective that I've never been exposed to. You know?
Yeah.
It's like
which is cool.
It's like Black Panther, but from the point of a woman in an animated movie. You know, you get this perspective, like this is made by women, and it's the story of women told by women, and it's fucking awesome. It's so good. And I could not be more thankful to have it, even though I didn't jive with like the cutesy parts of it. You know what I mean? Just because I was so enthralled by like all the nuance of the storytelling that when a cutesy thing popped up, it's like I have no interest in the cutesy thing. I just want to know about like the panda and how it is with the family and, you know, going through this shit. That's the part that I showed up for and then delivered on that. I just had to endure a little bit of cutesy shit, which is fine. It's a animated Pixar movie, you know what I mean? But
yeah,
man, when it hit really hard.
Definitely. All right, well, shall we move on to recommendation?
Yeah, we can move on to recommendations.
All right, how would you recommend Turning Red? Very yes, totally fine, shithouse. Where do you stand?
This movie for me is I think it's a very yes movie.
All right.
Like the more I talk about it, the more passionate I get about it. And I think like my qualms with this movie, like my problems that I have with this film are purely stylistic choices, right? The way you chose to stylize your character in this particular scene, or the way that they're animated in a particular scene. But I know full well that there's people that'll appreciate what I just stylistically don't like. I just don't jive with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So with that being said, that's totally departed from my opinion of what this film is and how well it's executed and how unique of a story it is. I think it's a very unique story that doesn't get told often, especially in the medium that it's being told in. I think it's an important film for younger audience to see. I think that it represents something in film that is incredibly important, like all the women being promoted within the company that they made this movie in. I think that's an incredibly important thing. I think if the entire industry can get behind making these kinds of movies and kind of putting a balance in the kind of stories that are told, I think that the world as a whole will be so much better. I think that, you know, if you're a kid and you grow up and you see this movie, if you're a young boy, right? You're a young boy and you grow up and see this movie and you can kind of identify with the struggles and stuff of you know, the people in this film. I think that you grow up all the better for it. You know what I mean? The exposure to these arts is incredibly important. And I think that the ability for these films to be made is super, super important for everyone. And so, and I think that it's one thing to like, you know, everybody talks about inclusion and representation in film and representation everywhere. When it's forced, it feels a lot less genuine. And when it's forced, it almost feels like a slap in the face. Like, hey, you want us to integrate, you want us to do this, you want us to do that. Well, here it is. We're doing it. You know what I mean? It just doesn't feel like your heart's in the right place. This is a film where the heart's in the right place. This is an authentic story told authentically. It's well acted. It's well presented. It's well written. And it's an important story to tell. And I think that everyone, anytime they go see this movie, I think they're better off for it. So I think it's hats off to everyone involved, man. They did a really good job. Even if I have issues with certain parts of the animation.
Well, you know, and that's personal preference. You know, I think there's no wrong opinion. Generally speaking, yes, we should say there's no wrong opinions anyway. Obviously, that's kind of the nature of the beast. You know, to a certain extent. I mean, we can definitely say that some opinions are just dumb shit opinions that can be quickly discounted. But that's not what we're dealing with here. That's my point. You know, you may like certain types of animation more than others. fine, you know, and I think that that's a completely valid thing to touch on. For me, I really enjoyed it, but that doesn't mean I'm going to fight you on your feelings on that aspect of this film. But anyway, I mean, for me, this is obviously no surprise. It's a very yes film for me as well. I was wondering if you were going to get there yourself. For me, it was pretty much a given. But yeah, I just really enjoyed all of it. I liked how unabashed it was with telling its story and hitting on the more uncomfortable aspects of teenage life and doing it unapologetically, I guess, you know. So I liked that. I really enjoyed all of that. And then I enjoyed the cutesiness on top of it. I enjoyed the panda stuff, which we really still haven't talked about a whole lot, but I really enjoyed all of that. You know, I think it was good fun in terms of using it for, you know, it's kind of representation of emotions, you know, quite literally. But it was also good just for set pieces within the film, and it all just was really compelling storytelling. Overall, bolstered by great music, great animation, great direction by extension, I think, and some great voice acting as well. I thought all the kids really fit their parts extremely well, and the adults too. But you know, the kids I think are really the ones that drive this film. And you know, you have a film about 4 teenage girls, and I didn't find them annoying or anything like that. Like it was fun to just vibe with them for you know, just under a couple hours or whatever it was. Really good fun. So it's a very yes for me on Turning Red. Why don't we do some spoilers then? Some full spoilers for Turning Red. So yeah, I mean, fucking Kaiju Panda was excellent, I must say. As kind of the first thing that maybe jumps to mind for me. And I didn't see it coming. I feel like they hid that very well in the marketing, which was appreciated, that, you know, you get this whole big set piece with the concert and the mom and May, and, you know, it was pretty intense, you know, just the pure destruction of it all.
And the fucking boy band.
And the fucking boy band. Yeah. I mean, that was I really enjoyed how kind of crazy it got towards the end. Like it went fucking ham towards the end, and that was really great. And even bringing in like the other relatives and everyone pandaing up, you know, was
all the women, dude,
was fucking awesome. You know, I thought that was just really cool how they it was really cool how they did all of that. But again, as a surprise, in terms of how the story direction went, that was really refreshing. Was just not seeing it coming, I think, too. So
I'm going to tell you something real quick.
Yeah.
I'm going to go off on a bit of a tangent. This is definitely in like fucking, it's out in the weeds.
All right. In the weeds we go.
We hired a new person. Her name doesn't matter. We hired a new person at the car lot. She works up in the front, right?
Okay.
You know, besides probably like, well, I don't know, not even besides. She's very much like I would probably say she's probably a feminist. Okay. Probably, like, I've never like been right and just like asked her, but like I can tell how she interacts with women. I can see her, like, she voices her opinions about certain things, and they just sound very much in a different angle that I've not been exposed to a whole lot. Certainly, probably not in your workplace, which is very male dominated, I think, overall. Absolutely. Like she's the only female that works there. Yeah. And there's always only ever been one female that's worked there, but her opinions are very different than largely anybody I've ever interacted with on a daily basis, with the exception of probably somebody like Anna. You know what I mean? Who will happily give you opinions. And so anyways, this movie, specifically like with the family and how they get involved, very much at in one particular point when they were like all like charging up to go after the mom, you know? Yeah. It's fucking like girl power, man. Yeah. And that's what I tell the lady at work. You know what I mean? She'll get to talking. Like, there was this lady that came in. She didn't know about credit. She didn't know about much of anything like that. You know what I mean? And the girl was expressing how she wanted to get her finances straight and this and that. And the girl didn't come talk to me about that. She didn't go and talk to the other guy about it. She went to Sarah to talk about it. And I'm over there just doing service, and I'm just listening. And she's like, "Girl, listen. You get your finances." They're like, "This is the girl that works for us." This is what she's saying. She's saying, "Girl, you just listen, okay? You do this, and this, okay? Keep your head down. You keep doing it, girl. You got it, okay? You can do it. You can do this. You don't need anybody's help. You don't need the help of no man to do it. You don't need this or that. You got it." And it's just like straight up fucking like. It's like, amen. It was a fucking sermon, you know? It's like girl power, you know? And this movie's about fucking girl power, and it's cool, right? Like, the girls got the money up. They raised the money to go to that concert. The girls pulled the mom back from the brink, you know? And then at the end of the day, they all recognize the power in their womanhood, and it's fucking awesome. It's
right,
so
good. And importantly, as an extension, it's not anti-men or anything like that.
No,
you know what I mean?
No.
It's recognizing that, like, well, men can have an important supporting role too. You know, and I'm not saying that that's why this movie is good. Let me clarify that. I'm just, you know, it's good that it's happily embracing everything, you know, being very pro women and everything, while also, I think, helpfully defining for the people that cannot understand how men could have a place and something like this that's women dominated. It's showing, like, yeah, I mean, like, everyone can just support each other, and, like, that's okay. Like, that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
You know, like, the dad is great. The dad is kind of quiet and there, and he's not really like a huge focal point. You know, it's really the film is dominated by the relationship between.
His opinion really doesn't matter when it comes to the fucking periods and shit. Like, I don't.
Right. Yeah, there's certain aspects where, like, he's not the authority figure to turn to, you know. So a lot of the film is really about May and her mom, but then the dad kind of comes in at the end, you know, and he's supportive of her,
boom.
and
that's all he needs to be,
you know, and he's just like, you know, cheering her on. And then I don't know if he stuck around for this, but he's jamming to Four Town, I think, in the after credits scene. He's in, like, the basement just jamming to Four Town, which was pretty incredible. I had no idea there was even a credit scene. I just happened to leave it on as the credits were rolling. But
that's just it. You know, it's so disappointing that the society that we live in has to be like, we can't glorify others without the detriment of others. You know what I mean? Like,
right? Yeah, that's that.
For some reason,
you're hitting on kind of what I mean. Of, like,
yeah,
we just because we're bringing, you know, women up in this doesn't mean that we're putting other people down as a result of that. You know, it's showing that there's a healthy balance that can be struck of just, like, valuing everyone. Not to the detriment of others. Like, it, you know, it shouldn't be crazy. I mean, this is a, you know, but at the same time, it's okay to have something like this that is putting, you know, women on you know, as the focal point,
on a pedestal,
you know, in a way that we usually don't get, and that's not a bad thing. Like, that's a good thing. Because I mean, is bringing new perspectives and shining light on different aspects and things that don't commonly get touched on in a film medium or any sort of media typically, you know. So
you're I mean, like, it's just sad that we have to have such a male dominated opinions about everything. That's all I'm trying to say. So does that make sense?
Yes. The reality is all of our media has really been told mostly historically from one particular perspective, and that is of the white man. And like, it's still okay to tell stories about white people. It's okay to tell stories about white men. Like,
yeah,
that's
we're gonna
okay.
Watch we're gonna watch that Viking.
That's okay.
Movie. It's gonna be badass.
You know, like that's not. It's not that that's a bad thing and that we can't do that anymore. But it's equally important to, like, tell stories about, you know, literally anyone else. You know,
that's
Black
it.
people,
and literally
Asian
everyone
people,
else will watch that movie.
right? Yeah, right. It's about showcasing diversity and championing it, and showing it off. And maybe it's just as simple as like having a movie where women are the main characters, or teenage girls are the main characters, or like that. And like that's good. That's okay. You can do that too. It's not taking away from one side of things to do this. It's bringing a new perspective. It's adding more to the table. It's not, well, if we can't have this, then we should have this, or we can only have this if we take away this. Like we can have it all. We can. And there's a market for it. I think that we're seeing more and more and more and more. There's a market for it. You just have to be willing to open yourself up to the possibility. And more and more they are. And more and more they are. We're not perfect. It's not anywhere close to having some sort of parody now or anything like that. We're like, all right, we've solved it. Everything's good now. No, of course not. But we're getting better. And I think it just needs to boil down to, I have a story. Okay. Is it written in a way that's going to connect with people? Yes. It's well written. Okay, good. We'll make your movie. Yeah. Is it written poorly? Yeah, it's written poorly. We're not going to make this movie. All right? You don't have to have something or someone behind the pages, right? Like, it doesn't matter who or what wrote it, right? Just, is it worthy of telling? And if the answer is yes, then fucking make the movie, right? Are they good actors? Yes. Right. There shouldn't necessarily be the external factors of, oh, well, this is about a black woman that's not going to sell, or that's not going to sell. This is about 13-year-old kids in Canada, mostly Asian Canadian. We need to sell this shit in Florida. Yeah, right. No one's going to watch that shit, dude. We can't make that. That shouldn't be what dictates what gets made and what stories get told. So yeah, that's right. Anyway, and it sounds like with the appointments that are being made, it doesn't sound like that's going to be the direction that's going to be. No, I think Pixar particularly is definitely trending in the right direction. On that aspect. In that aspect, I expect that we'll get more stories like this championed from Pixar, and we'll get. And I think I think they have a pretty good track record overall. It's not like this is some big crazy shift for them or anything like that. But I think it's great that recognizing the success of this film and leveraging that into. We never got a box office breakdown. I mean, what was the success of this film? I mean, not much, because it didn't come out theatrically. But was it? I'm sorry. I thought it was a dual release. It did overseas a little bit, but I mean, I think to even really touch on the box office is not really fair to it, because its box office results are significantly less than its budget was. And it's one of those things with streaming these days. It's hard to get good solid metrics on how something's performing. But critically, it's done very well. People are talking about it. According to Samba TV, I'm just looking at Wikipedia, Turning Red was streamed in 2.5 million U.S. households in its opening weekend, which was the most ever for a Disney Plus original title. So people are watching it, and theoretically that's translating into Disney Plus, subscriptions. I went into work and recommended it to the lady that we have working for us. I recommended it to her and her daughter. Yeah. Her daughter loves it. Good. Great. That's cool. I mean, Disney would not keep putting these fucking Pixar movies straight to Disney Plus if they weren't successful for them in some manner. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah. They fucking kill it. Because these things would definitely turn a profit in the box office. You know what I mean? I don't think there's any question. I mean, it sounds like Lightyear for now is still supposed to go to theaters, but we'll fucking see. Who knows? They kind of change these things week by week in terms of how they approach the release schedule with them. But yeah, I mean, I think it has to be considered successful overall, certainly critically. And I think that, just based on the limited information that we do have, it seems like people are watching it, and that's almost certainly good. Even if it's just for the people involved. Yeah. It was a success, right? Definitely. Two people got huge promotions.
It sound, and it was really good. It was a really good.
And here's the
on,
thing: women don't usually fail upwards. It's usually the men that do that. So that means that they're probably being recognized for doing a good thing. So,
no, it was a really good. It was a good point that you made earlier with. Oh shit! Lost my train of thought. I don't know what it was. Totally lost my train of thought there. Wow, blanked out big time.
Yeah.
It was a good point that was made. You made a point.
Well, I appreciate that I made a good point. Yeah. If you recall what it is, let me know. We can head on it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Anyway, spoiler wise, yeah, big fucking pandas and shit. That was great. Really, really enjoyed that.
I enjoyed Godzilla Panda.
Very, very fun.
Just mega bitch. That's what I thought when she popped out.
Oh man.
Oh god, it's mega bitch.
Terrifying. Yeah, I think what I think there were some very, very good moments of humor sprinkled throughout. The drawing under the bed of the crush, the convenience store clerk or whatever was very good, and that whole scene of him being confronted and all the fallout from that was incredible. But really, the drawing scene itself, there's like one face that she makes when she like starts doing it, which is very anime and very expressive. But it was just, I don't know, for some reason it's like burned into my brain. It's just very funny. Yeah, I don't know.
We talked a lot about the movie.
Yeah, I think we and we've talked mostly about broad strokes, themes, as opposed to specific like big moments in films, except for I guess perhaps big Godzilla kaiju fucking panda coming around, but all the panda-y stuff, I guess it's the one thing I really haven't really hit on too much. I really did think that was great. Just the actual visual, depiction of her, like just the way she moved differently, and the struggle in like navigating and getting out of the window, and everyone's kind of reaction to her. And there was like a scene towards the end where she's like traversing, but transforming back and forth, like across rooftops. I thought that was
she was leveraging it.
That was fucking cool right there.
See, that's the cool thing, right? That's the coolest thing, is when you can take what it represents to be a panda. What are they talking about? Being a panda, right? Being a panda is being a unadulterated woman, right? That's these are my qualities as a thing, and I'm as a woman, and I'm not gonna push them down, right?
Yeah.
So what's awesome
I'm gonna
is when
be myself, and
that's it.
Be who I am.
So when she's running, traversing across the city, it's no longer a ball and chain on her ankle. It's not weighing her down. She's not worried about it. She's full on leveraging it to catapult her to where she wants to be. And it's so good. That's like excellent storytelling, man. It's awesome.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And the worst part about the whole movie is that through the generations, the older women.
Oh, yeah.
The older women have found ways to keep who they are and who they should be locked away.
Yeah. And they really lash out against the younger generation who's trying to find themselves and
let me embrace it, right?
Embrace it, and at every turn they're basically getting met with that's not okay, and that you can't do that, and obviously it starts with May and her mom, and and May has to hide this whole aspect of her personality, who's like she likes boys, and she likes this boy band, and they're her favorite band, and and she listens to it, and she's like, oh, this is disgusting crap, like filth that is getting put in my child's brain, and
then when she has to explain it to her, she describes it as an inconvenience,
yeah,
the fact that you turn into a panda when you get excited or you get emotional or whatever,
And her mom's experience turning into a fucking Godzilla-sized fucking panda was probably pretty inconvenient. Probably caused a lot of property damage back in the day.
But just the way it's like I said, it's poetic the way they chose to tell that.
No, that's a good call.
The way the older women viewed their power as an inconvenience, like this thing that was bestowed upon us is now an inconvenience. No, you got it completely wrong. You know what I mean?
And I think that's the messaging of the film.
The world embraces you for it, right? Like all her friends are all about it. Everybody that knows about her and the panda, they're all about it, right? So it's
right. Yeah,
just be who the fuck you want to be, man.
Yeah, be yourself. I think it feels like it's really kind of a big theme of like how it comes out on the other side is don't be embarrassed of things that might be unique or different about yourselves, or even the things that aren't different and unique about yourselves, but for whatever reason are just considered embarrassing and yucky to talk about. Like,
fuck it.
It's okay. Like that's okay.
We're all human. Just do it.
Yeah. So I liked that aspect of it. And I liked that it tackled kind of this intergenerational trauma too of her and her mom, and then her mom and her mom, May and her grandma as well, like just dealing with this kind of layers of not respecting yourself and not allowing yourself to be who you want to be, like it was really cool. And especially, now I'm thinking about it, like this is a specific moment, I guess, when cause they go through like the barrier or whatever it is to force the panda out when they're doing like the ritual and shit. And then when May sees her mom initially, she's her younger self, who's just like scared shitless and doesn't know what's
I remember
happening,
that.
And eventually, she kind of figures out, what's going on and is able to kind of separate herself. Like that was a really, really powerful moment, I think, in the film.
Yeah, I think that's the part that made me cry.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that might be the most like emotionally charged moment overall, just because I think that I loved the power of friendship and everything in this. I thought that was all really, really well done. But just that familial love. And I think especially because that's the source, like the friendship, there's like a very brief moment of conflict where like May is just like, oh, my mom's right. Sorry, guys, and that's that. And then she has to apologize for that later on. But for the most part, the friends are very supportive and understanding and there for each other. And that's like really healthy to show and really awesome to see. But ultimately, the conflict and like the emotional trauma and the resulting emotionality of this film all really, I think, derives mostly from how much she has to hide herself from her parents, in terms of her personality. And like that's I think a very relatable thing to be someone with your friends and then just be someone totally different, around your parents and goody two shoes and stuff like that. Like, for example, you wouldn't read Game of Thrones or watch rated R films, would you? So. Of course not. No, Andrew would definitely not do any of those things.
I would never do that.
Of course not. He's a good boy.
Exorcist.
Yeah.
Oh, God, The Exorcist on the PSP under the covers. Slack-jawed.
And I think it's good to, like, not keep your kids fucking sheltered, too, So, anyway. Let kids be kids, man, to a certain extent, you still got to be a parent. To a certain
extent.
You got to be a parent sometimes. You got to step in and lay down the law.
Just giving them enough slack. Just give them enough slack. You have to expose them.
Yeah.
Because the world's still turning. Regardless if you put a fence up around it, you around your kids, the world's still turning. There's a world out there that they'll eventually be exposed to. Let them dabble in it. Just give them. Yeah. I mean, with the internet now, it's really fucking. That's
a little
crazy.
harder. We got parental filters and shit for that to hopefully help with that, but it's not exactly a foolproof.
They still go to public school where homeboy doesn't have a filter. No. So it's about giving your kids the tools they need to fucking survive.
Yeah. All right. Any other spoiler-ific thoughts on Turning Red?
No, that's it. That's it. There was it's good. It's a cool movie.
We had a strong 2021 in terms of animated films. 2022 off to a good start, I think. So
off to a good start. That's right.
We got Lightyear to look forward to, and I'm sure there's going to be a few others. that come along. But yeah.
I think Soule's the one to beat. Soule was
that's the bar right there.
Oof, that was a big one.
Yeah. All right. Well, why don't we turn our attention to Anna Mattis, who will return on the Listener's Corner live and give her thoughts on Turning Red right now.
Hello. Yes, I really liked Turning Red. Sounds like you guys did too. I thought
we did.
This movie was very enjoyable. I feel like I laughed a lot, and I thought it was very cute and just like a really fun premise, and also didn't. I don't know what I thought it was going to be, but it was very different from whatever it was I thought. There were a lot of surprises. I think Colton and I talked about how the trailers really hid the third act very well. But I thought it was really good. I thought it was very fun. I think I had seen some people talking about, really it was more like backlash to a stupid review that was basically like, unless you were an Asian teenage girl growing up in Toronto in the late 90s, early 2000s, like this movie isn't for you.
We did actually briefly touch on that.
Did?
I don't think I got the language. I think your language was probably the more accurate, closer version of it. But it was just kind of like
it's pretty fucking ridiculous.
Because we actually started talking and like it was just like, are kids going to relate to like burning CDs and like shit like that? I was like, I mean, it's set in 2002 or whatever. But
I think there's a couple things here. I think number one, do you know how many movies are made about the specific experience of middle-aged, cisgender, heterosexual white men?
Most of them.
Correct. And guess what? The rest of us figure out a way to relate or at least enjoy ourselves, even if it's something we haven't experienced. So, like, God forbid we have a movie about this specific experience. Dude is just a weak man who has no imagination and could not handle a movie not being about him. That's first of all. Second of all, in terms of like the burning CDs and shit, I mean, I'm sorry. Sorry, hold on.
That was my take, not the other guy's take. So,
I'm just like, I'm thinking, think about how many movies we watch, like Grease. Like, I can't relate to like a dance competition at a school dance. Like, I don't know, whatever. Like, we watch old movies all the time. You know, I think about us growing up and watching 80s movies, watching Breakfast Club, Pretty in Pink. Like, you know, those movies just have a different world. I mean, you know, I think
that's totally fair.
So I
I think we landed on it. You missed the entire discussion.
That's where we started. We ultimately pivoted
because
and landed in a pretty good direction.
Yeah. Who's the movie for, right? Like, is the movie for adults first and then kids second? Or is it a kids movie first and adult movie second? And I think we landed somewhere
both?
like why not both? I think that's probably where we landed. Because there's things, being that it's an 02, that the kids today aren't going to recognize. Burning CDs, boy bands, like the whole thing, right? So...
yeah, but I think there is like I think there is a equivalent. I mean, building playlists now. I mean, I literally just like built a playlist on Spotify and shared it with my friends the other day. So they kind of get that part of it.
You didn't share it with me.
I did not. This is true. Sorry. But also I think boy bands absolutely are still a thing right now.
Like, in a different way.
In a different way.
Are they?
This is true. Oh, hell yeah. I mean, I think for kind of the generation now, it's more like BTS.
Right, yeah, didn't you like literally mention K-pop earlier, Andrew?
I think that's the big comparison.
What?
K-pop.
I thought you.
K-pop. Yeah. No, I definitely.
I think you can draw a direct line between
even
them. Yeah.
Like maybe like, so like I'm on the cusp of, millennial and Gen Z.
Yeah.
I'm a zillennial, 94 to 96. And so like I think for millennials, it was like a very clear like Backstreet Boys, NSYNC,
those
Hanson.
are our boy bands, yeah.
Yeah, like it was very much that. I think for the Gen Z kids who are, you know,
internet kids.
They're mostly still kids. I think One Direction is a really good example for them.
Yeah,
One Direction was fucking huge when Gen Zers were like 10, 11. You know, it was a huge deal.
I guess One Direction boy band.
Absolutely,
absolutely boy band.
I would say so. It's five.
Maybe it was just like
five teenage boys in a pop group.
It's totally a boy band then. By that description, definitely a boy band.
Yeah.
But I think we probably struggled to identify it because
I think
we weren't growing up like when they were popular, so we're just like, I don't know.
I think there was this very specific moment in time, though. I think you are right that there's this very specific moment in time right around 2000 where boy bands were just fucking huge. And I think,
you got like
Backstreet
the
Boys and
music
NSYNC are
and
just the biggest, examples of that. And
interesting thing. I don't know. Regardless, it doesn't matter because the story's not about a fucking boy band.
Right. Although I will say those parts were very relatable. Like
they were.
There's like a very popular meme. Jonas Brothers. That's another really good example of a boy band.
That is
when
the
I was,
example
in middle
of
school.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. But there's like a very specific meme that comes through on Instagram every like few months for me, and I see it, and it's like this picture of like a digital camera taking a picture of a girl, probably like 13, probably around the time I was 13, just wearing very like 2007, 2008 fashion. And the caption is something like, me picking out this outfit thinking it was going to make Joe Jonas notice me in the crowd at a Jonas Brothers concert. And it's like a very relatable thing. And it always gets a ton of likes and a ton of like repostings because that's like very much the way a teenage or pre-teenage girl brain works.
And
like,
this is something that we're like, we don't really know what the teenage girl experience is like. Like we ourselves did not experience that.
Not. Yeah. So like it just very, because like here's the thing, like being a teenage girl fucking sucks. Teenage girls are awesome because of all the bullshit they have to put up with. So there's a lot of escapism I think involved, and this I thought just really like showed that very well. Like her, even just like her liking the older teenager. And being like, why do I like him? Like, why? This doesn't make any sense. Because I think every teenage girl has had that moment where she's like, what the fuck? Why do I have this crush? What? Like, why? Why do I like him? And it's just like hormones they take over and there's nothing you can do about it. It's like, it's just
because they're fucking hot. Like, that's okay.
They're
like,
not.
say it.
He's not. Yeah. That's the thing. They have a whole conversation about it. He's not. And that's what I'm saying. I think probably every woman in her life has like had a crush I call them crush of the weeks, where like you have a crush for a week and 2 weeks later you're like, what the hell was that? Like, I don't even like him as a person. Why did I have that crush? So it's just very relatable. I think that part, and then also the just kind of
is the shunning of those, because the guy crushes are glorified. A guy has a crush of the week. It's a glorified thing, right? Like, she's hot, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to talk to everybody about it. Your dad says, go about it, blah, 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 blah. Like, it's, oh, yeah, my boy's got a crush. It's great.
Right.
And then,
but if a girl has a crush, it's
boom,
inappropriate. And
exactly.
Yes.
It's strange, isn't it?
Right. Well, and
but this puts it front and center, except the dad. The dad was very supportive.
Yes, I liked him a lot. But I think the criticism of this movie kind of shows that double standard, because there's a lot of
bullshit
being like they're over sexualizing teenage girls, and it's like there's no teenage girls having sex, there's no teenage girls making out with anyone, there's no teenage girls like kissing anyone. She's literally drawing like a teenage boy, another teenage boy that she thinks is cute. She's drawing him as a mermaid. In what way is that sexual? Like, of course,
watch Euphoria, motherfuckers.
Of course, there's undertones of it, but like, come on. If you're taking that and being like, this is so sexual, it's inappropriate, I have news for you. You're the weirdo over sexualizing children.
Boom. That's it. Ooh, spicy take, Anna Mattis. You're the problem. You're probably the problem. You are.
If you're thinking that
projecting.
way,
you're projecting.
Correct. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, no, I thought this movie was really fun. I thought the boy band scenes were very fun. I thought the music was like spot on as like boy band music.
It's pretty good.
Did you guys talk about this? It's
Billie Eilish and Phineas. Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. That blew my mind. There's gray matter all over my wall.
They're so fucking gross. They're so fucking talented, though. They're incredible. I found that very impressive because they were great. Like the songs, and just very, Yeah, no, I thought it was very good and very fun and told a unique story, and it was something different. We talked about, I'm sorry again if you've talked about this, but just how, our last two kind of animated Disney movies, this and Encanto, it was nice that there wasn't a real, actually thinking back, it's kind of Luca too. Luca does have a clear villain, to be fair. But all three of them kind of, the big threat to the main characters is not some big villain or a bully. I mean, Luca kind of again, but the others, it's like this intergenerational trauma and
it is,
I think for Luca, it's like against the humans. For Encanto, it's obviously like, because of the trauma her grandmother went through, she's really like has these high expectations of her family. And I think it's some of the same, it's this trauma with this red panda, obviously because her mom's is,
Godzilla sized,
terrifying. So it's just like realizing that things that didn't work for the parents actually does work for the kids.
Somebody posted a meme on the Facebooks. I seen it. It was
the Book of Faces.
They posted a picture of this one, and I want to say it was I can't remember the other pictures, but it was this generation just wants an apology from the generation
from their parents.
Before. Yes, you seen that?
That is all I have. Yes, that's all we want. Like, first of all, you boomers fucked up the economy. Like, it's very nice that you were able to buy a house. Like, the fact that we can't isn't because of poor spending. It's because of inflation, stagnant wages, and a growing wealth inequality in this country. And, y'all fucked that up, not us. And also just, these high expectations that were put on our generation that were impossible to live up to. I mean, you think about millennials and it's like we go the formative years of our life were like 9/11, the 2008 crash, the horrifying on so many levels things that happened in 2016, and then a global once in a lifetime pandemic.
Yeah, we're living it up, guys.
And all with this, looming threat of climate change. Like, the fact that we're still doing shit and surviving and not all just like comatose on our couches should be fucking applauded.
The millennials are fucking it all up. I hear that on a daily basis.
But we aren't. It's so silly. There are also all those articles that are like, millennials this. I'm like, do you know how old millennials are? Like, we're literally in the age range of like 27 to 40. What are you talking about? Millennials are just working, trying to pay off their debts. Like, that's what millennials are doing. What's so horrifying about
Let's hop on the fucking
irresponsible?
Gen Z bandwagon. What the fuck are they doing? TikTok motherfuckers. That's what I say.
I think they're doing just fine.
TikTok houses.
I think they are creative. They bring joy. They care about shit. And they're still kids. Most of them.
Fuck them. It's their fault.
Anyway.
Okay, boomer.
Couldn't be our fault.
No, it's true, though. It's very true. All of it's very true.
Yeah.
It's, good rant, Anna. Good rant.
It's what I'm best at.
All right. Any other final thoughts on Turning Red?
No, just that it was very good, and I'd probably watch it again.
All right. Well, it's easily accessible on Disney Plus. So check it out. You have 3 recommendations to watch it. Did you give it a very yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 3 very yes recommendations on Turning Red.
Thank you for having me. And
are you off?
Oh,
what have you been up to?
Did you want me to do that?
Dish it out. You're here. You might as well stay. I mean, fuck it.
All right. Andrew demands it. I guess you're going to hang out with us. You don't have anything else to do, right? You don't have anything going on tomorrow or anything, right? So
God. You have a hearing in 12 hours. I'm going to vomit.
She'll be fine. Everything's fine here. Why don't we start with? We could. Do you want? Are you ready to catch up? How do you want? Who wants to go first? Who talks first? You talk first. I talk first.
I'll talk first.
You
talk first,
and then I'll get the.
All right, Anna's going first.
All right, she's gonna catch up.
I think most of this has already probably been discussed. Still watching Ugly Betty in the final season. Getting there. have decided that after Ugly Betty, I'm going to watch Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, the most recent season, and I'm also going to watch Bridgerton, which I haven't watched any of, but
it's been getting a lot of juice on the internet lately. A lot of tea.
Very popular. I'll give it a shot. I tend to like Shondaland stuff. I've watched most of it.
I don't know anything about Bridgerton, but it seemed to be...
Bridgerton takes place, I want to say, 1800s-ish, early 1800s, I think, is kind of the timeline of it. And it's like, British noble high society. But the show is based on a collection of romance novels. But because it's like arty fiction, it's a little fantastical. So it's, still, the fashion's not really accurate. Some of it is. But they just made it a more diverse cast because why the fuck not? It's already practically fantasy because it's like based on
not accurate
novels.
Right.
But yeah, reading, I'm still reading Star Wars, what is it? Light of the Jedi, one of the...
That's the first High Republic adult novel, I believe.
Pretty good.
Oh, remind me about High Republic. Just when it's my turn, tell me about it.
All right, all right.
But I haven't had a lot of time to read that. But I did read. I don't think it's been talked about. Maybe it has. After we went and saw the Batman, I was feeling there's a lot of vibes in it that are, Tim Sale and Jeph Loeb. They're Batman comics, and so I went
Jeph
back
Loeb's the man.
And well, sometimes comics are great. But I went back and reread the Long Halloween, which is great, and highly recommend. And then it's kind of an unofficial trilogy of Long Halloween, Dark Victory, and then Catwoman When in Rome, which I had to hunt for that, but I do have a copy of that now from the interwebs. I think that's pretty much it. I think the only thing that might be new, again, I don't know if you've talked about this on here, but as you can tell, I really listened to every episode. But we played the new Mario Kart tracks.
No, I don't think we've talked about that at all, actually.
Oh, really?
I don't think so.
Yeah, no, it was... It's 2 whole cups.
Well, we have Andrew to thank for
we do. That's true.
Being able to enjoy it.
Our
it's part of our family membership through Nintendo Switch Online.
Yeah, enjoy.
Yeah, thank you. It's great. I love Mario Kart, and
I played a little Banjo-Kazooie on that shit. It was pretty good.
Oh, very nice. Good. Very nice. Yeah. Wasn't
not lately, to be fair.
Recently.
Oh
boy. But yeah, it's been fun having new courses to play, and yeah, that might. Oh, we watched a lot of basketball for March Madness. It's over.
That's
now.
bullshit. Fuck basketball.
It's now over.
You guys watch that?
Oh my god.
Yeah, we filled out our own brackets. Yeah. Mine died a fiery death in the second weekend.
I tied for third place. Or second place? No, third place. I tied for third place in my bracket.
Basketball's the fucking worst. I hate
disagree.
Basketball.
I think golf is the worst.
Golf is definitely not the worst. Golf is the most nuanced of all sports.
The most nuanced of all sports.
And that makes it fun to watch.
Let me tell you something. I watched this one golfer.
Sports. I'd rather watch the golf game on Mario Party.
I watched this golf guy, this golfer. He was there was a lake between him and the green. He skipped that fucking ball all the way across to the green.
Cool.
It came
like
across the curb.
Cool hit out of like 100 boring ass ones where they just like.
And it went right into the fucking hole. Those guys have got it going on. Golf.
I'm not saying they're not talented. I'm not saying they're not skilled.
You just don't enjoy fucking watching it?
No, I don't fucking like watching it. It's fucking boring.
When's the last time you watched golf on TV, Andrew?
I've actually never watched golf on TV. Mm-hmm. I just watched the highlights.
Unbelievable. There.
He just wants to pick a fight.
That's it.
He's just trying
Some people just want to watch the people watch the world burn.
You're just a troll.
He's just trolling. But yeah, March Madness was pretty good.
Yeah, it was entertaining.
Kansas won. Spectacular comeback. Biggest of all time. And
go to hell, Carolina.
Fuck UNC. So yeah. I mean,
Gators weren't in it this year, so kind of don't really give a shit. But even if they made it, they would have not won it, shall we say? But yeah, all right.
All right, I'm gonna go prep for a case that I have.
Well, best of luck
tomorrow.
with that.
Best of luck.
Hearing.
Tell us about it. Can you tell us about it? I mean, are you representing somebody? What are we doing?
Yes, it's a custody hearing before a judge where I am representing someone.
Nice.
Yes.
Well, you got it. You got it unlocked, man.
We'll find out. But yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
See you later, and never forget, fuck you, Hans Zimmer.
Fuck you, Hans Zimmer.
Except for when you work on Dune, then it's okay.
That's okay, yes. So I have purchased a book.
Oh, you've purchased a book. Okay, all right. We can just treat this as you're catching up. So what's
that's
going
right.
on?
I purchased this book, and I don't know what drove me to purchase it. I knew about the book.
Okay.
But anyways, I guess I wanted to take a break from Stormlight.
Okay.
Before I dive into the last one.
Fair.
And this book is called Meditations.
Okay.
It's by Marcus Aurelius, who was a emperor of Rome way back when. Mm-hmm. Is Zeta back?
Sorry, I'm back. But have you read it in the Latin?
No, I cannot read it in the Latin. I felt especially brainy because when I got it in, I got this hardcover in, and on the back of it, it says University of Louisville, the McConnell Center of Little Books and Big Ideas. Like, it's like from a university, which made me feel super smart. Like, I've never read like a textbook before like that. But there's all sorts of really good, like, it's written from Marcus Aurelius, an emperor of Rome, one of the last good emperors of Rome, wrote this book while he was campaigning away from home. And he didn't write it for other people to read. It was like just like little memoirs that he wrote to himself. And it lends perspective on what it is to be. Apparently, this book started Stoicism. Like, just it started a whole movement of thought. There's full of really interesting like little quotes and stuff, and like little motivational things, like quote unquote, a man then must stand upright, not be kept upright by others, and that's part of a larger thing. But I mean, that's just like one of the little quotes in the book right there, right? So it's cool. It's almost like so I got another book like this. It's called The Art of War by Sun Tzu. Okay. And that was written by a Japanese general way back when, and I thought it was I read that in its entirety in middle school. Like, I thought it was just incredibly insightful. And meditation seems like a really really good place to take a break from the other stuff that I'm reading, and it's by a really important person. So I think that's really cool. Excited to. I've dabbled in it a little bit. Like, I flipped through like a random page and then like just read like a an insert from it. But yeah, Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. That's what
I have returned to respond to this just because as a classics major, I asked you a trick question about the Latin because although some people have written it in the Latin translation, he actually originally wrote it in Greek, which is real cool because he wasn't Greek. He was, like you said, he was a Roman emperor, but he wrote it in Greek.
Why did he write it in Greek? What did he speak? Did he speak Greek?
I mean, he probably spoke Greek too. He probably spoke both.
It was really interesting though. Like, he was a real nuanced person. Like, there's a quote on
Very
here.
Cool.
There's a quote in here about education and like the importance of like he lives a modest life, but if he's going to spend the money, he spends the money in education, what seems pretty cool.
He was a cool dude. Not my favorite emperor, though.
Who's your favorite emperor?
Trajan.
Why is your favorite?
Just I think this might be controversial, but I think he's the least problematic of the Roman emperors, and just kind
of problematic based on modern standards, or problematic based off.
No, I mean both. Kind of. He's not. Didn't do anything hugely horrible.
Now, question for you: Marcus Aurelius was named a Caesar. Is that just like a title given to a?
Okay, so like the origin, so like, you could consider Caesar's not really the first emperor, but after the assassination of Julius Caesar, that's when it transitioned to an empire,
right?
And so it was an honorific in some ways, and later there were people appointed the title of Caesar, and I mean he was too, in a way, but he was emperor. That was Marcus Aurelius was an emperor, but the first emperor was right after Julius Caesar, which is Augustus, who might actually be my favorite emperor, but he was such a little shit as a teenager.
Well, I stumbled upon something that you apparently are passionate about, so I'll read it and I'll tell you what I think about it. Because
and then read Seneca. Seneca's the next kind of in that school of thought.
What is Seneca? So this is a good introduction to that school, Stoicism. It's a good introduction.
Stoicism, but Marcus Aurelius is fine introduction, but Seneca's another good.
Who wrote that?
Right. No, that's the name of the author. Seneca. Like Seneca's writings are good good collection of the thoughts of the Stoics.
Did you ever read Sun Tzu?
I did not.
You should read that. I recommend that one. The Art of War. It's like written the same way as this meditations book is. Just
I'm recommending Seneca as someone who someone who likes the Stoics. That doesn't mean I enjoyed it.
Oh shit!
I just had to do it. But yeah.
Anyways, so I have this meditations book. It's cool. I'm excited about it. I haven't read it yet. I have been playing Elden Ring.
Okay. Very nice.
Which, yes. Elden Ring is definitely very cool. I very much like Elden Ring.
I'm told you were attempting to slice some sort of dragon recently.
That's right. So in the way that I typically play a Soulsborne game, I discover a weapon that I want to use and I can't use it because I'm underpowered, and so I just kind of grind it out until I can use it, right? So I still can't use the weapon that I found, but in turn, I'm trying to get to the point where I can use it, and as a result of that, I've become overpowered for the area that I'm in. So I just beat a dragon with no problem. I got his heart without I'm I'm approaching level 40 in the entry area. It's probably because I'm not the best at the game. But it's cool. I mean, I'm not gonna, I just want to use my goddamn golden axe thing that I got from the beginning of the game. Yeah. So anyways, I'm working my way up to use that thing, and then I'll start working towards progressing in the story. I think I've got about, 20, 30 hours in it. Pretty awesome game. I started Moon Knight. We'll probably talk about Moon Knight. But all you need to know,
we're only one episode in. I think we'll have another one dropping very soon, but 6 in all. So we got a few weeks before it all unfolds. But yeah,
that's right. I like Oscar Isaac. He's my man.
He is.
And this is a testament to Oscar Isaac. I really like it. I enjoy it so far. I have started. So I had begun that Western. What's it called? Fucking dogs.
The Power of the Dog.
Power of the Dog. Yes.
Yeah.
So our previous episode, I was 10 minutes in. I think I'm like 15 minutes in.
Oh, 15? Oh, yeah, not even okay.
Exactly. 15, 30 minutes in.
Treating
now.
it as a real slow burn.
Yes. And all I can tell you is that it seems to be shot very well, and that Cumberbatch is a massive asshole.
He's a gigantic asshole.
Gigantic fucking asshole. Like I don't see what's compelling about him at all. Like he's just a fucking dick.
Just gotta keep watching.
So we'll see. Like he seems to be like his brother seems largely we've never watched a movie in this way to where I can just like break down each
it's like a TV show. You're treating it as a TV show, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
So you've watched 2 episodes, 2 micro episodes, 2 Quibi-sized episodes of The Power of the Dog.
Quibbies. Watch 2 Quibbies. Yeah, so Cumberbatch is a huge asshole, but at the same time, like his brother, is like largely like not involved. It seems like he seems
right.
like he's
not really about the same life.
Exactly. Like he's enjoying the fruits of his brother's labor and everybody else's labor, but he's not like he seems morally more sound than his brother. He doesn't seem like a bit of an asshole, but at the same time he seems largely not involved, which is arguably just a different aspect of assholishness, right? So we'll see how it goes. I mean, I'll give you the 15-minute updates as we record our episodes.
Maybe the next episode we'll get the next 5 to 10 minutes.
That's it. It's actually pretty funny. Anyways, I think that's all I've really been up to.
All right. Well, before I go on to my stuff, I was told to say something to you about the High Republic stuff. Does that mean anything to you, or is that just
yes?
Really
I sold a car to a guy.
Okay.
That did the coloring on one of the High Republic comics.
Oh, really? That's pretty fucking cool.
That's super cool. He lives in Zephyr Hills. He's a real cool dude. He didn't like come outright and say it, like we were making small talk and whatnot, and we slowly got into the fact that he was involved in Star Wars. He got involved in Star Wars comics based off of his previous work on other stuff, and he's doing the coloration on comics. He did the coloration on a High Republic comic, and he did the colors on a Dr. Astra comic, which is she made her debut in
the Vader comics. Afra.
That's
Dr.
right.
Afra? Yeah,
Dr. Afra. That's it. Yep,
yeah.
You knew exactly what I'm talking about. Yep, so now she's got her own comics, and he did the colors on some of those too.
Nice. That's fucking cool.
It's cool. Yeah, it's fucking super cool. I'm like, I didn't do the colors on it, but I'm super excited about some.
I gotta go buy some comics and get them to come back and get them signed.
Exactly. Very, very excited about that. So, yeah, that was really cool.
Nice.
That happened a couple weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, I think.
Cool. So on my end, the only thing I've been really up to one like new thing that we really haven't talked about to this point. The only other thing that I had on the list of like things that I've been doing, like we kind of covered it. Like we watched, and Anna and I talked about this with you extensively. We ran through a lot of Academy Award nominated films, in the lead up to the Oscars, and obviously we talked a lot about the winners and all of that. But I was just going to say a quick piece on the 6 films that we watched, and I do mean a quick piece for my standards. So I'll do a quick recommendation and kind of my thoughts. So West Side Story, and this is in the order that we watched them leading up to the Oscars. West Side Story it's kind of boring, but Steven Spielberg likes lens flares, and it's pretty well acted, aside from Ansel Elgort, who kind of sucks as a person and as an actor. He's kind of a dead weight in it, but it's a classic kind of Romeo and Juliet type story with a little bit of a twist. It's West Side Story. If you've seen West Side Story in any incarnation, it's exactly that, but a little prettier is what I would say. So I'll give it a totally fine to yes, kind of somewhere in between there. The Eyes of Tammy Faye. Great lead performance from Jessica Chastain. Great performance from Andrew Garfield. Very fun, kind of zippy kind of movie. but ultimately covers too much material for its own good and kind of collapses under the weight of that. So it's a totally fine movie, but very entertaining at the very least. Being the Ricardos is an Aaron Sorkin film that is written very, very snappily and is actually very funny at times. It's very good, and it's got some great performances in it from Nicole Kidman, Javier Bardem, and J.K. Simmons, who I really enjoyed all three of them. I was surprised by this one. It was really only nominated for the acting categories, I think principally, but I was surprised in how much I enjoyed it. I've seen like a lot of jokes about it. Well, I think even there was even jokes about it like being like boring and unfunny at the Oscars, and I was like, I don't really think that's true. It's not amazing. It's not Sorkin's best. I think Trial of Chicago 7 was definitely better, and like West Wing is better and as like long form storytelling. It's kind of an unfair comparison, but Being the Ricardos, I had good fun with, to be quite honest. So it's on Amazon if anyone wants to check it out. King Richard. I could probably gloss over this one. It's fine. Richard Williams seems like a real shitty dude, but hey, Venus and Serena turned out to be amazing tennis superstars. So he saw something, I guess, to some small credit, and pushed them in that way, and then tried to hold them back. But it's an okay biopic. I think overall, I would have preferred a movie about Venus and Serena without the lens being on this asshole kind of thing. That's kind of how I feel about it. Licorice Pizza is about a relationship between a maybe 25-year-old and a 15-year-old. We definitely talked about this one. Honestly, I think enough said. It's a PTA, Paul Thomas Anderson movie, and it's well shot and well directed and acted and all that, but it's too fucking creepy at its core, and you'll never get over that, and you shouldn't. So I'll end with Drive My Car, which I think might be the one that I enjoyed the most out of all 6 of these. It's a 3-hour Japanese film. It's weird as fuck. We definitely talked about that. But I thought it was exceptionally well acted and like a really
weird
interesting...
fucking, I think is
yeah, it was some weird fucking that was happening in it. Yes, that's what we talked about. But I really enjoyed it. It's pretty slow paced and it's introspective. But I honestly, like, if you can find 3 hours, which is a hard ask, it's really good. It's worth your time. It's on HBO Max, so it's something I think you would enjoy. But where are you gonna find the 3 hours to watch this? I have no idea. That's so I'm not gonna be mad.
Well, that's exciting. I
might pull it off.
I might just go watch it right now.
Could do it right now. Yeah, you'll be getting in bed pretty late, but do what you want. So that's what I have on those 6. Just some quick snapshots, probably somewhat duplicative of what I said on the last episode, but there was a lot going on. We talked about obviously things besides the winners. But the only new thing that I've been watching, and I've only watched the first episode, and I think that two of them are out now, is Halo over on Paramount Plus. I watched the pilot episode of it.
Oh my God, did you really?
I did. Anna was gone. She had drinks with a friend for a couple hours, and I had nothing better to do, and I was like, well, I know she's not watching this, so I guess I will. It was fine. I like Halo without being a diehard fan of Halo. I haven't played a Halo game in probably half a decade, too close to a decade at this point. But Master Chief, he's chiefing about and shooting people, and there's the Covenant. Like, it looks pretty good, I think, visually. It kind of captures both the Spartan and Covenant aspects of it pretty well. The writing's like not great. It's not perfect. I think that it's pissed off a lot of fans of the game because it changes the story and this and that. And like, I'm not...
How so?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not a big enough fan to like give you a really great answer on that. The only thing that I know for a fact is definitely a departure from the games is that, and I guess this is a somewhat spoiler for the end of episode 1 for anyone that cares, I guess click ahead like 15, 30 seconds. Master Chief takes his helmet off. So you see who's...
Oh, shit. No way. What's he look like?
He just looks like a dude. He's just the dude. He's just the dude under there. And I think that this is a series that's going to let him be without the helmet for extended periods of time, which is very unlike the games, obviously, which, to be fair, you're playing from a first person perspective, so you're never really going to see him without the helmet anyway. But yeah, I think people were upset about that. And even when it happened, I was just like, oh, that doesn't feel right. It was kind of, it's like Mando, where like, he's just supposed to have the fucking helmet on, so So that was a little weird to get over, but I think in terms of the other stuff, like there's probably some lore changes here and there that I'm not really, up to speed on, but I thought it was fine. I thought it was like well enough made and like mediocre to okay to fun-ish sci-fi content. Cool world. Feels like the world could be pretty cool if they build it in the right way. So I'm going to keep watching it. I don't think it's going to crack my top TV shows of the year category or anything like that from what I've seen so far. But, it's not dire enough that it's going to be in the worst of the year either. So we'll see. When I find time, when I have some alone time, and Anna's off doing something else, then that's when I'm just like, all right, I'll just fucking throw Halo on for 45, 50 minutes and see what it's like. So I heard the second episode was an improvement, actually. So, yeah, I'll watch at some point and maybe I'll, update people on my whereabouts with Halo. I don't think we'll cover it, most likely, but yeah. That's about it. That is it for me, actually. That's all the new stuff that I have. So we can go and wrap it up right there if you're down for that.
We're good. I'm down for it. Let's do it.
All right. Thank you all for listening. If you enjoyed what you heard, please spread the word. We are on Patreon at patreon.com/watchreviewrepeat. You can get early access to all of our regular episodes. It's very helpful when we accidentally record a 3-hour episode. And so the Academy Awards have been sitting there for a bit. This will be up there for a bit. Obviously, by the time the regular listeners are hearing this, maybe there'll be something else for them, such as the next episode that we're recording that will already be up on the Patreon. So it's really good for that. And then you'll also get timed exclusive access to any bonus episodes that we record in the future. So we've kind of like inadvertently recorded like sort of bonus episodes and just done them as regular releases, but we'll do some actual planned bonus episodes, I'm sure, at some point this year. Our website's watchreviewrepeat.com. You can get links to all of our social media accounts. We're on Twitter at WRRPod, on Instagram at watchreviewrepeat, and then you can also just search on Facebook for us, Watch Review Repeat, and find our page that way. If you have any questions, comments, and suggestions, you want to be, part of the listener's corner through that way, then you can certainly write in your thoughts on anything that you've seen and then have some opinions on. We'd be happy to talk about that. So just send them our way, watchreviewrepeat@gmail.com. Our intro and outro track is Mechanolith by Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com, licensed under the Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0 license. Our next episode, we talked about this actually at the end of our Academy Awards episode. And indeed, this is a sort of bonus episode under the circumstances. We're going to be talking about Studio 666. We're going to be talking about Foo Fighters, and we're going to be talking about the passing of Taylor Hawkins, their drummer, kind of all baked into one celebration of Foo, of Taylor, of this weird horror comedy fucking thing that they made while they were making their latest album. I think, and I think it'll be a fun time doing it. We're not going to treat it as a regular episode with news and all that. It'll be just very much, go with the flow and talk about the movie and whatever else comes up in the conversation kind of episode. So we may be here all night, but it'll be fun. It'll be a fun kind of way to, do something that we haven't done, I think, and talk about, I think, a band that, I think means a good amount to us, and talk about, Taylor Hawkins, who is obviously a huge factor in making Foo Fighters who they've been for like decades now. So I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, I think that does it for this episode on Turning Red. So Andrew, why don't you take us out?
Take care now. Bye then.
Laters on the Menjay.